Alrighty, boys and girls, here we go. Back at it. Measuring a nation's income. This is all about GDP, gross domestic product.
GDP.
So you have to be able to define gross domestic product, and guess what? There's an equation. How is GDP related to income and spending on a national level? What are the individual components of GDP as represented by that equation? How do we correct GDP for inflation? And does GDP measure societal well-being? Yes. Thank you for asking. Okay. So we're starting off macroeconomics, but just as a refresher, microeconomics deals with the individual household, and how they make decisions, the individual firm and how they make decisions. Macroeconomics is about the whole economy, the whole big picture. Gross domestic product measures the income of everyone in an economy. The glare's pretty bad, isn't it? Better?
Did you get the waterfall?
What?
Did you get the waterfall?
Several years ago from Jake Zink. GDP also measures expenditure on the output of goods and services in an economy. There's a big but coming, and it's on the screen, not just mine. New folks, I always encourage, and it's impossible for you at this point on this day, but that you have read and taken notes before you come to class. It will be a survival skill for you in college because the professors will not wait for pencils to stop moving. They just keep going. So if you have the bulk of the material down out of the reading, then you'll be able to keep up better and you'll be able to get a lot more out of lectures. All right, here's the big but. For an economy, income needs to equal expenditures. Every dollar spent by a consumer has to be income from a or for a producer. There are some exceptions to this, what we refer to as leakage from the circular flow. We'll get into that this semester. Yes, the circular flow gets way more complex. Did you just say, what's the circular flow?
I'm joking.
Well, that's like day 3. No, it was like chapter 3, maybe.
Yeah, I was in here a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. As a refresher, for those of you who have forgotten the circular flow, it is a simple depiction of the macro economy, of the whole thing. It's going to show us GDP as spending, which becomes revenue, right? Spending is the same thing as revenue, depending upon which way the circular flow is flowing for you. Factor payments. Factor payments are what? Payments for the factors of production. The factors of production are land, labor, entrepreneurship.
That's a new idea.
Okay. What is the factor payment for land? What do we call it? Rent. What's the factor payment for labor? Wages. Factor payment for
Profit. It's profit.
profit. Same as entrepreneurship. Okay. Look how much you know. I just used a teaching technique on you called scaffolding. where we build on prior learning to connect to new learnings. And I refreshed and showed you that you already know so much. Building confidence in your students is important in the first days of the new semester. Don't look so skeptical, Devon.
I know the alphabet, don't you?
Yeah,
I already know.
you called me my right name.
That's why I used the last name, because it actually darted through my brain. And I couldn't decide. I know it's Lauren, but sometimes the wrong name falls off my tongue.
It happens.
Building confidence in your teachers is very important.
Okay, Kalina.
All right. So the circular flow looks like this. The households on one side, firms on the other. The households own those factors of production and sell them for income, which they then use to buy and consume goods and services. Om nom nom.
Are we gonna have to do this
Oh yes.
again?
Yes. Dayton, somehow you've made it 10 and a half years, 11 and a half years, and haven't figured out that you don't ever get to forget nothing.
That's how old I am?
Yeah,
That's
I'm like,
true.
wait,
I forgot
school.
all the time.
Oh,
I know, I was like,
I was like,
does she think?
how did you know?
Firms buy or hire out those factors of production, use them to produce the goods and services, which they then turn around and sell for the money back. Sorry. Forgot the markets for factors of production down there at the bottom, and then we can actually start to draw in some flow where we put in our land, labor, capital, which we then just glock together and call it the factors of production, which head into the firms. We'll move the money back the other way. Notice the labels are different now that we're in macro. You can now, at the macro level, just label your flow of money GDP. GDP doesn't work the same way as DWL. Sorry.
Wait, lost.
Oh, he was gone. Oh, yeah.
Signal tier.
At the top, we put that market for goods and services. Oh, the green arrow GDP label continues. Do you still need to know that we call it revenue, spending, and income? Yes, you do. What do firms send to the market for goods and services? This is a stumper. Did I say what a market send to the, no, what do firms send to the market for goods and services? It's a stumper. Goods and services. You guys are so smart. And then those markets send the same goods and services on back to the households.
That's me.
Now there is leakage. This is in the idealized economy. The leakage that occurs happens when we put Uncle Sam here in the middle and we start paying taxes and Uncle Sam buys stuff from the markets as well. It occurs when we put in financial institutions and people choose to save some of their income instead of spending it. And it hurts when we put in international trade and some of that income goes that way instead of there. But guess where some income comes from then? Comes in from out there as well, because we sell some of our stuff internationally. All right. I just wanted to show you this stuff while the diagram was up there, but this is essentially words for what I just said. The financial system is necessary because it takes that savings and turns it into funds for firms and consumers to use, and then thus returns that flow of money to the economy. Ideally, the financial system is a straight flow through and back into the circular flow. All right, this is the straight up word for word, thank you ma'am, definition of gross domestic product. Do you have to memorize it? Yes. It is so important that you memorize it that I will actually quizify it. I know, Mark is shocked. We're going to break it down.
Do we have to use the and symbol?
Yes, I demand an ampersand as well.
Oh, goodness.
That is the name for that and symbol, yes.
I can draw it.
Okay. We're going to break it down word for word. I'll let you finish getting it all down, and then we'll break it down. Is that a very pulpy orange juice, Andrew, or are you just being exceptionally creepy?
Oh no, it's frozen. Frozen's in my car.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, market value. Goods are valued at their market value, so we calculate market value as measured in the country's currency. So if we're looking for US GDP, it's going to be in US dollars. If we're looking for England or UK's GDP, it's going to be in the British pound. If we're looking for France's GDP, it's going to be in
Euro.
euros. Okay. Ooh, China. Yuan. Yuan. That's how it's pronounced. Japan.
Oh, no, red.
Yen.
Oh, that's
Australia.
Dollar.
Australian dollar. Mexico.
Pesos.
And it doesn't even have currency.
They publish figures. We assume they're largely made up and fake news. Okay. Things that don't have a market value are excluded from GDP. So things that you do for yourself are not counted in GDP. Things that you do for yourself are not counted in GDP. I do not suggest attempting to use this argument with your parents. I once had a mother contact me. The conversation went something like this. Mrs. Hope, I'm going to take issue with what you're teaching my son. Oh my goodness, it's only the third day of class. What has gone wrong? Well, he is accusing me of being intentionally harmful to the economy. And I said, what? She said, yes. He insists that by making him complete chores around the house, I am damaging our GDP. I need you to set him straight on this. I said, well, technically, ma'am, from a purely economic standpoint, it's not wrong. I see this more as a parenting issue than a school teaching issue, because in fact, when he does labor around the house, it doesn't contribute to GDP. And if you paid an outside service like the Mary Maids to come in and scrub the toilet and clean the shower and vacuum the floors, that would contribute to GDP. Does he by chance receive an allowance? No, we pay for what he needs when he needs it. Well, perhaps you could couch this for him in terms of that as his income, which he then turns into expenditures in the economy, And if you tell him that he will cease receiving that income if he ceases performing those chores, then he is even further damaging GDP. She was not real happy with me. In another week or two, he came to his senses when he ran out of his prior saved income and wanted things because she refused to fund his lunch account until he came to, oh, that fixed it real quick. He ate like 4 slices of pizza every day.
Jeez.
He was one of the people who come in and debate issues over lunch.
Shut up.
He would turn them, put Parmesan on one, turn them top to top, and eat them like a sandwich. It was efficient. It was efficient. So anyway, just because you babysit a younger sibling, or mow your own lawn, or shovel your own driveway, you're not having a catastrophic impact on GDP. You're contributing to the well-being of your family, which allows your family to continue spending on other goods and services. The bottom line is, a household's income is only what it is, and the income has to be spent somewhere, and is going to be spent somewhere, and if you choose to boycott household chores and force spending to be spent on those, then that money can't be spent somewhere else where one might assume it was previously benefiting you. For instance, not only did the lunch break him, but the idea that the equivalent maid service was equivalent to the internet and cable bill. His parents presented him with that trade-off. He chose the lesser opportunity cost and started vacuuming again. All right, final goods and services. Final goods are intended for the end user. The end user. There are also intermediate goods, which are used as components or ingredients in the production of other goods along the way. For instance, if I am Keebler and I buy chocolate chips from Nestle, are those chocolate chips an intermediate good or a final good? They're an intermediate good because I'm going to bake them into cookies and sell those cookies as the final good. If I am Becky Hoke shopping at Fairway and I pick up a bag of Nestle's chocolate chips, am I purchasing an intermediate good or a final good? A final good, regardless of whether I turn those around for my third graders' bake sale. Do you see the distinction? GDP only includes final goods. If we counted the intermediate goods and the final goods, we would be doing what was called double counting. That would be bad. Double counting, bad. This is also why we don't count resale items. Nothing you have ever bought at Goodwill counted in GDP when you bought it. Purchasing a used car does not count in GDP. No. Well, what is Goodwill doing with the money that it gets from you?
That's a good question.
It's employing people. That money's going back into the circular flow. You need to wear clothing. They need a job. Goods. Tangible goods. Things you can touch. You can touch it, you can hold it, you can eat it. DVDs, mountain bikes, root beer. For the new folks, this is a collegiate textbook. They try to get to the college students level, so they spend a lot of time talking about root beer.
But it's sparkling
Okay. Intangible services. The cleaning service, the nanny service, your cell phone service. You can't touch that Wi-Fi. touching the tangible good, the cell phone, but the service that comes to it, you can't. Go to a concert, you can't touch that music. I suppose you could run up and touch the movie theater screen, but you can't. Produced. Currently produced goods. Currently produced goods. Currently. Not goods produced in the past. There's a reason for this. We'll get into it. Within a country, we have to limit the bounds of GDP. We can calculate global GDP. Don't know why we would want to, really. We primarily use GDP as a means of comparing ourselves against our previous selves and as establishing a benchmark for comparison by our future selves. Or we use GDP to compare one nation to another. It is the production within the country's borders. If you are a Canadian and you drive across the border and work every day, you live in, what's right across, Windsor, Canada? Live in Windsor, Canada, and you drive right across the border to, I don't know. You drive across, it's not. So you drive across the border and you work in an American factory every day. Your work is contributing to American GDP because what you're producing is produced within American borders. Likewise, if you're an American, you drive across the border and work in Canada, you're doing the opposite. Yes, sir.
New territory.